I expected that one day the law would come down that neighbors will by theocratic law inherit from a deceased. And inheritance in those days was something that was very, very personal. Let's see. Wow. Okay. What is your view of mixed heroes, such as Sultan Fatih II, who many Turks see as a hero, but who turned the Hagia Sophia into a mosque, something against Islamic tradition? This is a question that in general is very, very easy to answer and has a very reasonable answer. That is that, except for very few exemptions by the creed of Islam, those exemptions are only the prophets and Satan. Very few people are pure good and very few are pure evil, the former applying to the former and the latter applying to the latter. Everybody else is a mixture of good and evil. If something does something good, you should praise them and you should be happy about that when they do, whether they're a Muslim or a non-Muslim. You should be happy about the good that they do, and this is part of keeping your own faith strong. And if someone does something bad, no matter how wonderful or beloved of a person it is, you must call it like you see it, and you must not encourage that person, support that person, and if you have the ability and the clout to encourage that person to abandon whatever bad thing that they do, you must exercise that clout and that ability. Obviously, you don't have that ability to do that in the 15th century because time travel hasn't been invented yet. I have a friend who was the president of the MSA after me. His name is Hadi. He works in the U.S. Patent Office. He says people try to patent time machines all the time, and he will call them on the phone and tell them, listen, you can only patent something that works. And they say, no, the theoretical design is flawless, and the physics. He said, listen, either you take me back into the past right now, otherwise I'm not giving you the patent. So, yes, obviously we cannot go back and tell Sultan Muhammad Fatih, you know what we think he should do with the Hagia Sophia Church. But what we can do is, even if people view someone as a hero, if he did something that you think is wrong, then you don't have to, say people are completely good or completely evil. Don't ever defend the mistakes or the bad actions of someone, no matter how much you love them. And don't ever denigrate the good deeds of somebody who you may not like, no matter how much you may dislike them. It's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's very in line with this tradition of justice. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أحبب حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوما ما وأبغض بغيضك هونا ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوما ما. The Arabic language has very lyrical quality that he said that hate the person you hate with moderation because one day you may love them, and love the person you love with moderation because one day you might, right? All right. Is it permissible for Muslims to pay respects or offer funeral prayers for non-Muslims or pray for forgiveness for non-Muslims who have passed away? Respect, yes. We respect every human being. As far as joining the funeral prayer, this is our tradition that we don't join the ritual practice of other religions. And this is something, maybe it's not a popular thing to say from the stage. Islam is not a what you call perennialist tradition that believes that all traditions are universally valid. Obviously, if a person in this day and age were able to, also, can somebody just tell me about time when it's time to wrap this up? Because I think we're not going to be able to get to all these questions. So, what time are we? So 10 minutes? Okay, we'll wrap this up at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Sorry. I apologize, I lost my train of thought. But anybody who believes in the universal validity of all religions and who would choose to be a Muslim in this age, when they could have been something else and still fulfill, what the ethical requirements that they have for themselves in life are, it must be out of his mind. So that's all we have to say about that. What would one or two policies pursued by the U.S. government in regard to Islam that have been most damaging to our perception by the Muslim community. I cannot claim to speak on behalf of Muslim communities. This is something that you should probably travel the world and see for yourself and talk to people what they say. I mentioned a couple of them. I think the drone attacks are egregious, and in general policies that, because America, like every other state, has a right to and a duty to defend itself and its people and its interests, be they military or economic. It's just that when you commit dhulm, when you commit transgression and you destroy the rights of other people in that process, that's when they hate you. What happens? What do I mean when they hate you? If you make a drone attack in which someone's wife or husband or father was unjustly killed, that person will hate you forever. There are very few people of that rare moral quality that you'll be able to make them understand after that day what the difference between a combatant and a non-combatant is, because that hatred will blind them to reason, except for very few people who are special and like shining gems of moral quality. And as a state policy, it's very unreasonable to expect whole populaces to behave that way. I think that those are, in my opinion, but there are, different people have different complaints, and different people also have different things that they love about America as well. I think one of the reasons that the Muslim world is experiencing this kind of real internally turbulent reaction toward America and its foreign policies is because they want to love America, and people love America. People love freedom, people love Disneyland, they love Mickey Mouse, they love iPhones, they love America. And when something like this happens from the one you love, it's especially hurtful. And that's something, like I said, you should talk to people, go see the world and mix with people, see what they're saying. Everybody needs to come out of their shell a little bit, which I appreciate that many people are doing just that and even attending today. What's wrong with glorious marble graves? If they're brave heroes, isn't that a good thing? No, it's if a person is a good person and you honor them, that's good. But we, our philosophy is that we live not for this world, but for the pleasure of God in the hereafter. And when we make a person's honor commensurate with material glory, then we cheapen that relationship with our Creator, and we cheapen that longing for the day when a person's beauty and a person's raiment and ornaments and a person's honor is not based on the amount of dollars that they have, or how wonderful their grave looks, or how beautiful their house or their car or their business is, or how wonderful their job is. But that day, the person who's going to be beautiful is the one who's beautiful in conduct, the one who kept good relations with his family members, the one who was kind to strangers, the one who was just with people, the one who forgave those who did wrong by them. That's going to be the beauty on that day. And so for that reason, death is a sober reminder of the temporary nature of this world, about how you can have it all, and it's all going to be ripped out of your hands, quite literally. And at that occasion of death and at the remembrance of death, it is particularly inappropriate to use material goods in order to find honor or find happiness. While you're alive, at least you can enjoy it. When you're dead, you're not enjoying it, you're just deluding yourself at that point. And I don't think that's something you have to be a Muslim to understand. In an Islamic theocracy, would it be unlawful for the Muslim populace to revolt against their ruler? This is a very long subject that we could have another hour talk, which would be inadequate. It would be a good course, I think good graduate level course. But generally speaking, in the Sunni political theory, with exceptions, generally speaking, it's considered unlawful to revolt against the ruler. Again, in line with the kind of the model, the paradigm of equilibrium, of living in equilibrium. The idea is that when people revolt against their government, revolt in terms of military insurrection, as opposed to peaceful, nonviolent civil disobedience. When you revolt in terms of military insurrection, innocent people will die, property will be destroyed. Oftentimes you will commit more crimes and be responsible for more atrocities being perpetrated, if not by anything except for just collateral damage. You'll perpetrate more harm and more pain and suffering than was there from the original tyranny. So people should work out their problems without having to take recourse to fighting. This is something that was practiced for the great, I should say the majority of the history of Islam, and it's particularly painful that we see that the Muslim world is now in such a time, in such a place where people are not able to practice that restraint, where there's hardly a Muslim country in the world except for it's in some sort of turmoil, and it's a cause of great sadness to us. If a Muslim travels in space, circling the earth every 90 minutes, how often and what direction should they pray? Inshallah, when it comes up, give me a call and I'll answer that question. Can you please explain how to reference? We'll make this as the last one. If I didn't get to your question, please forgive me. I will be here for a little bit afterward. And Ahsan, raise your hand in the back. Ahsan, raise your hand, please. Turn around, look at him. He's right there. He has my contact information. If someone really wants to, ask about something or talk about something, you're welcome to take my email from him, and we'll correspond by that means. Can you please explain how to reconcile the laws of the secular state of residence and Islamic religious values that are in conflict according to the Islamic teaching? Does it conflict with the ideas of national allegiance? Like we said before, people enter into agreements all the time. In Islam, you're bound to honor your agreements. You are not allowed to treacherously break them, nor are you allowed to make agreements that you have no intention to honor. It's one thing, for example, a person purchases a house on a mortgage or whatever, on an Islamic mortgage. We'll talk about it, inshallah, when you call me for a Islamic finance seminar, we'll talk about it. But a person purchases a house on installments, we'll say. All right, that person has full intention to pay back the balance that's due on their house, but something happens beyond their unforeseen event happens that's beyond their control that causes them to lose their job or be unable to pay. But that's one thing. Those things happen in life. People oftentimes find themselves having made agreements that they're unable to fulfill. That's one thing. But another thing to make an agreement with somebody, to enter into America or any other country for that matter, or any other agreement, whether it be with a nation state or with individuals, it is not permissible in any circumstance for a person to enter into an agreement unless they're forced into it under duress, that they have no, and by duress we mean like under the pain of death, not this is horrible, I have to walk on the street and like buy something from somewhere else. We're talking about actual like life and death type of duress. It's unlawful to make an agreement or to say something to somebody or make a promise to somebody, be they a person, a group of people, or a state that you have no intention of fulfilling. And so if a person has a problem reconciling living in America or in another secular state and their Islam, the Sunnah is the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who couldn't practice his religion properly in Mecca. He got up and left to a place that he can practice his religion. I, for one, see that the practice of Islam is very possible in America, and not a compromised or watered-down practice of Islam, but a very true and a very sincere practice of Islam is possible in America. And I don't think the average person will be forced to leave. We don't live in places like France where a Muslim girl is not allowed to wear a head covering to class. We don't live in France where some of our sisters have their faces covered, which is one of our traditional interpretations of Islam. People may agree with it or disagree with it as a personal choice, but as Americans, we have enough good sense to let everybody choose the way they want to live for themselves and not try to shove our own personal choices down their throats. We're not in a situation like that. We're not in a situation that people are in different countries in the world. We picked on France quite a bit, but there's some places in the world I think it's going to be very difficult for a Muslim to practice Islam. I don't think we're in that situation. I don't think we're even close to that situation in America. In fact, quite the opposite. I don't want to dwell on this point too much, but one may even get the impression that in some ways it's actually easier to practice Islam in America than it is perhaps in many Muslim majority countries in this day and age. So, that's I guess what I have to say about that question. I wanted to thank again everybody for their patience, and I will be hanging out for just a little bit afterward. And if you cannot, get to me if you wanted to ask some question or whatever through email, you're welcome to again ask and raise your hand. get my email address from him and come in contact with me. And I'd like to thank the MSA for calling me and giving me another very happy occasion to connect with the University of Washington again, a place that I have very fond memories for. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh Hamza, we really appreciate it. So thank you all for coming today, this afternoon. There are refreshments in the back if you would like some. There's also some literature on the side table over there. Feel free to look around and take what you want. Everything is free. There's also a translated version of the book. We would also like to invite you all to come tomorrow to our lecture on Misquoting Muhammad by Dr. Jonathan Brown. I said Brown, right? Thank you all.
Oh, no. Let's check That's why I like this because there's a little. I've never heard of it. No? Yes, I think there's a very great exception That's really nice. Yeah. Kan? Aku dengan payung aku macam nulis tanggal. Kau buat payung? Haha.